All right, we're good. Welcome, traders. Welcome to our second live session. Yesterday's was a bit informal. It was just to really test out any technical difficulties we may have. So we weren't really concerned with the viewership. But today we got everything working. The mic's working. So we let you guys know on Telegram. We took a vote. So I have a few pairs that we'll cover today. I'm pretty sure most of you missed my intro yesterday, so let me just introduce myself once again. My name's RP Forex. I go by that handle. I've been trading for about 5 years now. I just completed a degree from University of Toronto in quantitative finance, and I take a technical and fundamental based approach. Let me just show you some of my previous charts for the week so you get how I analyze. I like to have nice clean charts. Not really use too many oscillators or indicators, moving averages, MACDs. These are just some of the trades that I analyze and put out there. They played out perfectly. Not every trade will be, but I'd say around 75% of the time, using this kind of trading method, you can be right 75% of the time. Even Bitcoin, you have the arrows indicating. Anytime I use arrows, I'm indicating where I think price will go or could go. So we tap this region, we tap this region. We had a bearish reaction here, and obviously we had the fallout on Bitcoin. So that's how I trade. You can follow us on TradingView at Forex Lens right here, and I'll be sure to give you a follow back. I post about 2 to 3 charts a day, and a few on weekends, all depending on the setups. So it is NFP week, and other than just the NFP, we had a lot of fundamentals even today. We had the pound services PMI, which came out a bit better than expected. Then we actually had the ADP non-farm employment change, which was 27. The forecast was 185K. We came out at 27K. And just to put that in perspective, this is the lowest it has been since May 2010. And what this means is that we only added 27,000 jobs for the month of May. So that's not encouraging, especially with the ongoing trade war, and now he's trying to ban cost tariffs and ban travel to Cuba. So right now the U.S. is laboring in terms of exports, and so if we look on the dollar index, we can actually see we had a little slip here. And this was during the release of the ADP, but now we're having a little reaction. This is at the neckline. If I go to the daily time frame, you can see we had a double top here and here, and this is our neckline, and the dollar index is clinging on for dear life. I mean, it came down here and it almost tapped this uptrend trend line, and it came and squeezed right above the neckline. So give it a few hours and maybe even to the close, we can see where the dollar index is headed. If we get a close above the neckline, we could see some dollar strength across all pairs. However, if we do see a slip, we could come down here and actually hit this trend line and see weakness across the board. So based on our polls, we got gold, pound USD, euro USD, and pound yen as the pairs you wanted me to look at, and I'm happy that a lot of you wanted me to look at gold, because that's one of the charts that I just left blank. So this way we can plot the same key levels, and I can show you guys how I plot my key levels, and you can put this on your charts as well. And so these first few weeks, when we go through different pairs, my main goal is just to have the same key levels. So starting next week, when we revisit these pairs, it's not wasting 20-30 minutes plotting the same pairs, the same trend lines. It's just us analyzing what the pairs are doing at these price regions. And so I think that way will make our live sessions more productive and not repetitive. So let me go ahead. I take a top-down analysis approach. So I like to start on the monthly on any pair. This works for any pair. Although I don't trade exotics or most minors, I stick to the majors. But I've noticed that it works on pretty much every pair, and even in cryptos. So right off the bat, what I like to do is I like to see where prices in this region. So I'm not too concerned about what's happening up here or all the way down here. I'm more concerned about near-term targets. So I can obviously see a near-term resistance right here. So I go ahead and use the rectangle tool, and I draw a little region right here. I wrote a blog post. You can check it out on Forex Lens blog, indicating why I like to use rectangles to indicate zones for my support and resistance regions instead of lines. I like to think of these regions as these areas of price where you can accumulate contracts or where contracts are sold off. I don't think it has a specific price point until I get to the smaller time frames. So this looks good to me. Now, can we draw a near-term support? I believe we can draw that right here in case we do have a short opportunity. So let's draw that right around here. And I usually don't like to go through the bodies of candles. Usually like to just capture the wicks. But overall, you're just trying to cover the area of most activity. So if you do go through candles, that's fine. All that tells you is it was support here. We came in, we tried to break it. We had a couple retests. This was a fake out actually. So we faked out to go to the bottom, but we actually pulled back up, came back and retested the support, and made a bull run. And right now we're coming back to that resistance zone. So we could have potential sellouts. It all depends on obviously NFP Friday and what the dollar index does. If we get a move back up here, we could definitely see a short. So this looks good to me. I also look for any trend lines I can draw. There isn't any that could be of use, but let me try anyways, just in case. I don't want to miss anything. Yeah, I usually like to have at least 3 points for my trend lines. So that looks good for now. Let's go on to the weekly. Okay, so yeah, this is a nice region, and when you get to the smaller time frames, you can always adjust to your zones. Just find the line of best fit, but this looks okay to me. And here we could start drawing a trend line. Right now we're actually just in the trading range, to be honest. So there isn't really a trend line. You could draw one right here, but we'll draw it just for simplicity's sake. Okay, so we have a trend. We're obviously in an uptrend, and I don't really use moving averages because they tend to tell you what you can already see on the chart. So obvious uptrend, and it looks like we're actually forming a double top on the smaller time frames, coming back to test this region. I can't see any channels I can draw, but now that we're on the weekly, we can draw our weekly levels where I use the horizontal ray. So weekly levels and support and resistance. Let's see. Okay, I see a weekly resistance right around this region. This region seems good, and the reason why I say that, it was resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, turned into support, resistance, and what was resistance again? We broke above it. So if we were to go short, this would be one of the levels that would be our take profit in a region of interest where we could actually add more possessions if we break through to go further down. So that looks good. Now let me look for weekly supports. Okay, I can see one right here. And although I'm drawing lines, I usually have these support zones have 10 to 15 pips of leeway to them, because again, with my analogy, you guys start thinking of them as zones. So this seems good to me. Yeah, that's fine, because we have an overall trading range, and then we have a trading range within the trading range. So that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. And now we can move on to the daily. Let's see what's happening on the daily. Alright. Okay, so this is a nice candle if you want to go shorts, especially if it closes like this. We had an attempt for buyers to go up all the way to tap this zone, and ultimately we could not reach there. But another thing, for the reason why I called gold longs last week, this play right here, was because we broke this downtrend right here. Let me draw it just to show those that haven't seen that chart yet. Right here. So this was the downtrend we broke. We had a little break here, but we had an official break here and a retest, and we rocketed up. So for those that are looking to short, ideally what we wanted was to come up and tap this zone and then go down, because if the candle closes like this, what could actually happen is we could have another candle do a wick fill. I'll cover wick fills in a more advanced webinar, but we could do a wick fill to the zone and then follow through. So you actually might be in drawdown for about 200 pips. That's not ideal. We actually want to find setups with minimal drawdown. So if I was looking at gold, I'd actually wait for the daily close. Ideally, you actually want the buyers to come in and push it up to here. Then we can have a proper opportunity to sell off, like we've seen to the left. And that's the mantra I go by. If you want to know what happens to the right, you got to look to the left. And when we came to this region, or as of late, we've always come down and at least try to hit this weekly level of support. So let me adjust. Like I said, when you go to the smaller time frames, you can adjust these levels. So I'm adjusted to right there. So every time we got to this resistance zone, we had a sell off, sell off, sell off. So we always this is one key level that we go to, 1301. Could be considered a psychological level at 1300. So that's great. Ideally, for any USD pair, you want to sit in your hands. Today's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday, and Friday morning's NFP. So you have about 36 hours left in the trading week, and you don't want to be in a trade hours before or during, even after the. Actually, after it's different, but you don't want to be in a trade definitely before NFP. That's the worst, especially if you're in drawdown. If you're in profit, it's a different story. So for gold, I'd say my bias is short, but ideally you want to wait, have sell stops somewhere here, somewhere in the 1360 area, or you can just set an alert on TradingView. Recommend TradingView. If you're using MetaTrader, give TradingView a chance because it is amazing. But yeah, set an alert for 1360 region for shorts, and the risk to reward ratio would be amazing because your stop loss would be just above here, and your entry would be here. Let me actually plot that to show you guys what a great trade it would be if we enter right there and so a good first take profit would be here, and the next one would be just at this trend line, this uptrend. So you can see the risk to reward for this trade is about 3.51. So that's very ideal. So that's one setup I see. Obviously, that could be for next week. Definitely not something I want to enter now. Okay. We are just a side note. We are working on a web portal to let me remove this to have a live chat and to host our live sessions. So in those chats, you can actually ask me in real time to either slow down or ask me a question about this pair or to repeat something. So we can all do those fancy things soon enough, but I think for now, just to get accustomed to how I trade, and if it's something you'd be interested in, we're gonna stick with the YouTube live. But when the portal is ready, we'll get that running, and I think that way our sessions could be longer because we'll be covering various pairs and questions, and they'll also be more informative. So I think that's gold. I think gold is done for now. Let us just see what the dollar index is doing. And yeah, if we get a close above this 97, again, it could be a psychological level if you consider it. 97 level, we can actually have a bull run. At least to this level, at least to 97.6. And then maybe we can retest and go down. Because we could actually see the dollar index go on a downtrend. So this would be the first lower low, lower high, and lower low fallout. So these are all things to monitor. Obviously, a lot of the markets and investors are waiting for the NFP. And the next pair of interest was pound USD. Yep, I think pound, they're also waiting for someone to step in for Theresa May. Do I have a chart? I think I do have a chart analyzed for pound. Alright, right here. Interesting. Okay, let me go from week to daily just to see what I did here. Cool. So we are actually using this uptrend right here, this little trend line, as support. We're sitting on it still, and this is our little support region right here. We're just waiting on support despite the services PMI that came out better than expected. Overall, considering all 3 quarters for the pound, they aren't spectacular or anything to rave about. But what's helping the pound gain on the U.S. dollar is the interest rates. You're gonna expect at least 2 this year, so 2 by the end of 2019, and obviously that is gonna weaken the USD. I think that's the only reason why it's making ground. Otherwise, we could have actually seen a fallout to the downside. So yeah, I was actually in pound longs since last night around midnight. Closed off in a bit of profit, but this is actually a nice decent long trade for you swing traders. Just to show you this zone right here. It's been tested once, twice, been flirted with the trend line 3 times, and we had a nice reaction off it on the 4th time. Let's see if we can get down to the lower time frame. Okay. So what made me want to go along is I'll show you on the 4 hourly. So we had this downtrend, right? This downtrend right here. And what made me want to go along was we had this break, we had this retest of this trend line, and then we had a long. And we had a bull run where this new higher high cleared out the previous lower high, and so obviously there was a change in trend, so we went long. But again, right now would not be a good place to enter just because we are hitting hourly resistance right here at 1.127. 128 is hourly resistance. We can see why. We had a nice wick try to pierce through. So yeah, we had a couple attempts. So this is an hourly resistance. So my criteria for anything long would be a break above this, a retest, shoot up, or even depending on NFP. If the NFP comes out lackluster, we could just get a. We know how volatile the pound moves. If you've been trading for a while, the pound pairs are volatile and they move quick. They could make or break your bank. So if we have a lackluster NFP, we can actually just have a candle rocket through this, even rocket above this, and not do any retest at all. We are in the formation of a double top, so be wary of that, especially if this daily closes bearish. We would have a sell-off, and that's most probable given that gold is looking like a short-term and long-term short, and the dollar index is also bouncing off this neckline, which is acting as support. So that is pound. I mean, I wish I could give you guys a viable setups. Just because NFP, I don't want anyone to blow their accounts and come back to me. I assume everyone implicates risk management as always. But if you are eager to trade and you can't sit on your hands, and I really don't advise this, you could do a short opportunity from here on out with a 1.91 risk to reward ratio, which is respectable for NFP. Because what you need to be aware of is have these levels plotted. So I'm actually gonna give you guys a second to plot this level right here on the 4 hourly, because if we pass above 1.27439 and we have some sort of a bullish pin bar or hammer coming off that level, then your stop loss is gonna get blown off. If this 4 hour closes like this, and we get another candle, maybe even like a bearish engulfing or a doji, and then we can see a nice fallout that's worthwhile. But if you're on the riskier side when it comes to trading, you actually may take this after the 4-hour close as a short if it stands the way it is, and you could probably possibly catch at least 30 pips before I get out. Just because if we get to this region, we might have a couple retests and bounce back. So I'd short it to 1.26500 as a final take profit. So just under 90 pips. It would be a nice intraday trade, but that's all on the basis that this 4-hour closes the way it is. Let me see if the 1 hour is doing anything. Yeah, so the 1 hour we had a hammer here, but now we had this kind of bearish engulfing that is also now turning into a hammer. There's a lot of indecisiveness. We can actually draw a trend line to kind of add more criteria, more confluence for shorts. If you're looking, if we do get a break of the trend line, then shorts are viable. We're in a ascending channel momentarily, so a channel break would be nice for a short. This actually looks like Euro USD on the 4-hour. They're in the same ascending channel. If we do get a break, it would be a nice short opportunity. But overall, my long-term basis is long, especially if the NFP is lackluster. We already know there's going to be 2 rate cuts in 2019. For Euro, we know that their GDP prediction from 1.7% went down to 1.1, and they're looking dovish. Tomorrow is the ECB, so I think the markets are already priced in for a dovish Euro. So lower interest rates are going to keep it that way, and so Euro USD shorts is also more likely, and that aligns with the dollar index showing some signs of life at the support at this neckline. So that's pound done, gold done. Let's do euro. It'd be the same story with euro yen, but I'll pull it up anyways. Yeah, so euro yen is looking more of a long. I actually called last night that euro yen will make a run to 137.750, which it fulfilled. Happy about that. It was a nice little, I wouldn't call it a scalp because I don't really like to be known as a scalper, but it was a nice intraday trade. We hit that level. It was previous support. That's why I called it. I also called that call because on the 1 hourly we had this nice downtrend which we broke, and we came down to retest, and we shot up to test that key level. Now right now we are in between levels, in between this little trading range. Here was this region of consolidation. Excuse me, I like to sometimes draw a box, but this is good enough. So here is our pound yen support from the weekly time frame, and here was our resistance for this consolidation area. We broke out of it, and at the same time we broke out of a downtrend, which we retested, and so that gave me inclinations for a long opportunity. And obviously with the USD and China trade we're going on, a lot of people and a lot of investors are going towards the safe havens, the yens. A lot of yen currency bonds are being held. People are turning away from the USD, and some are even turning away from gold, other than Russia obviously, but that's a different story. Anyways, so we could see actually a long, overall long bias for this is obviously just because we did have a trend change right here, and we are maintaining an overall uptrend. I could just draw my trend line. We are obviously maintaining an overall uptrend, so it does look like we will continue this, especially if in June we come out with the European Union and the Great Britain negotiate with their Brexit deal. Actually, under Trump's advice, he advises May the European Union, and that'd be terrible for the pound. But I do not see that happening. She'll probably negotiate a deal with the European Union, and that will be, I believe, sometime in June. So we could see a play along. The yen has some room to recover. It's been slipping for quite a while. If you go on the weekly, you can see that we tapped into this weekly support right here. So it's a nice support region. As long as we don't peak anywhere down here, longs are still a viable option for swing traders. If we do peak somewhere down here, we could end up doing a wick fill and going to all the way down here to the lows. So overall, pound does have some signs of life. I'd say the pound USD more so. Given that we have immediate results on Friday. It's a lackluster NFP, then we know the pound USD is going to, gonna have some long possibilities. Obviously, with the yen, we don't know how long the trade war will go. They could reach a deal tomorrow, next week, but based on what Powell said, he says we don't know how to and we don't know when. So that's obviously not encouraging to investors. So I believe the trade war will play out for a month or at least even more. So until then, I wouldn't bank my money on any yen pairs holding their ground indefinitely, because a deal could be imminent. We never know. We're usually kept out of the loop out of things, but that's what I see for pound yen. Long possibilities, definitely. Shorts, maybe not. Pound USD shorts could be a go as long as the dollar index continues to stay above this neckline. Okay, so we're done. Gold, euro, pound, yen, and now we have euro USD, which is the same story. So I'm not going to be a broken record, but it's the same story as the the pound USD. So let's go on the daily. So we have this nice little descending channel, and we actually came up and tapped it. Let me remove this arrow. We tapped it. This tap was after the ADP report came out, when we added when US only added 27,000 jobs. We came up and tapped this, and now this follow through down, this nice rejection was after we got positive USD news for the non-manufacturing PMI, and yeah, that's a nice bearish engulfing candle. And if you go on the 1 hour, it's exactly what I've shown on the pound USD. We have this hourly ascending channel that we actually have broken. I was looking at this chart before I started the live stream. We were just on the trend line, but now we have broken it. And what I was going to tell you guys, that if we do break this channel, we do have viable shorts. So I'm actually going to enter short after this this live session. But here's what I'd be going for risk to reward and how I determine my take profit levels. So cool, we got the criteria. We rejected off the trend line right here. We broke an ascending channel. All good. Now let me do my take profit levels. So let's bounce on the 4 hourly. Good load. Okay, so we're actually entering back into this trading range between 1.1100 to 1.1200. That's our little trading range. So my initial take profit for shorts would be, I'd look for areas of support or where wicks have tapped, and that would be right here for me. So the first take profit would be this region. We had a lot of wicks, there was supports, resistance for a few, and it was also recent resistance, which is great. Price whenever it breaks a recent resistance, it tends to come back and retest. So I believe euro USD will be magnetized to this level, and that is 1.1200, 1.1200 region. You can even say, 1.12 100, but just around that region would be first take profit. and that's about 60 pips away. When I get into 30 pips profit, I actually close half my position and move the stop loss to entry just to make it a risk-free trade. And especially since it's NFP and tomorrow is ECB, you want to be careful. I'd say if you risk 5% per trading channel. And someone requested Euro Aussie, so I'll do that. I believe I posted a swing opportunity for Euro Aussie short. We'll go check on how that's doing. But this would be the criteria for short for the first take profit. I think that'll be good for this week at least. It's a 2.23 risk to reward ratio. I'll stop moving the screen so everyone can take note of those levels. But yeah, if this aligns with what you see for the Euro USD, go ahead and take it. Obviously, this is not a signal program. This is more of an education experience, but I will be taking this trade personally, and we'll follow up on how it plays out tomorrow. We have ECB at, I believe, 8:30 a.m., so we'll know by tomorrow's session how it went. So let me do Euro Aussie. One more request. I believe this was emailed in. But when we do get that portal running, we will have a live chat where you can tell me in real time what you want me to look at. Let's actually go to Forex Lens and see our past analysis. I think I posted this up last week. Euro Aussie shorts. Right here. Okay. Okay, so we hit a bit of profit. Let me actually go and analyze the pair from top to bottom. I'll check if I have a saved copy. If I don't, we'll do it. Looks like we'll have to go top to bottom. Cool, no worries. So same deal again. Go to the monthly. Obviously hitting some nice resistance here. Go ahead and plot that. Cool, looks fine. We do have a trend line we can draw. We're in a clear uptrend, and it's actually pretty aggressive. I'm gonna actually see Euro Aussie break through this resistance, or give it a run for its money, to be honest. So cool, we have our trend line down. Wicks are cool, wick action. Let's draw support in case we do have a sell-off. Near term monthly support would be around here, so let me draw that. And again, these are just regions. They don't have to be specific. They just have to be relatively similar to what I'm doing, just so we have consistency from each live session. So this looks good to me. I'm using Oanda. Some brokers have their charts look different, but I'm using the Oanda Euro Aussie for this. So go ahead and plot your monthly levels like so. We have a monthly trend line going up, and we even, if you just based on looking on this, we have an uptrend within an uptrend on the smaller time frames. So let's bounce to those smaller time frames. Okay, cool. So we have an aggressive uptrend right here, pretty aggressive. And we can draw a trend line. There's inner and outer trend line. So this will be our inner trend line right here. Awesome. And again, based on piggybacking off what I said before, when you move to the lower time frames, you can always adjust your levels. So I'm actually going to adjust this just lower. Just a little bit lower, just to cover this activity, and all this. So that's fine. And any regions, when you see my trade setups, the stops usually go about 10 pips past any of my regions, my support and resistance zones, to account for wicks. These are like mini stop outs right here. So it's used for accounting for that. So that seems all good. And based on this, I do see us kind of getting squeezed. We are getting squeezed here. We see our retraces getting smaller. And what I mean by that is in our initial bull run off this support, and this is a wonderful support. Look left. Look at the activity we had here. We had nice bounce offs to support, nice bounce offs, and we're having that same bounce off. And this is how I define the strength of a trend based on the retraces. So this is a bull trend. I base the trend off what the bulls are doing and what the bears are doing. So we had a nice bullish reaction The bears came down swiftly. The bulls took over. Bears came down swiftly. So we noticed the bull movements are considerably longer than the bearish movements, right? And we see until we get to the resistance, this resistance zone, we see that the bull up move was similar to the bear down move, similar in size. And then we had a mini retrace by the bulls. So the bulls are definitely getting out of the market here. The sellers are coming in, but we also had some bulls come in to retest the level again. Remember what I said? These levels are like magnets. They magnetize price. This is where contracts are getting accumulated. So the bulls came up to test again, and the bears answered back. And we actually created a nice weekly support. So I'll plot that with the horizontal line. A nice weekly support right here / resistance. Perfect. And now we're having just a tug of war basically with the bulls and the bears. Obviously, this recent move is showing more bears. Showing more bulls than bears right here. So on the weekly, it does look like the uptrend is healthy, but the retraces have gotten smaller. So there's definitely selling pressure, especially in a region of resistance. Let's pop down to the daily. See if we can make out any trades. And it still looks similar to my analysis last week, which is right here. Similar levels. Similar levels, and it's the same sentiment for me. Shorts, just as long as we stay below this candle right here. As long as we stay below this candle right here, this latest high, I do see shorts. Maybe a short down to touch the trend line again before we pop back up. But shorts are the way to go for Euro Aussie. Definitely a swing trade. Because Euro Aussie, the pip is actually more than other pairs. You see 1.5400. So we're in the 5400 regions for Euro Aussie. So don't use your standard lot size for this trade. Definitely lower the lot size, and because your stop loss will be over 300-400 pips. Let's see, can I draw any? Again, I like to draw any daily support and resistance levels, and I can actually draw one right here. This area was a nice resistance for June all the way to September. Yeah, from June all the way to September was a nice resistance zone, and which became support, which we actually. So I'm talking about this line here. We actually came up, retested, and rocketed off. So I do believe we will. In terms of shorts, this could be a nice first take profit. Another nice take profit could be right here. This region right here. Where price, whenever it came to this resistance zone, it tapped. Whenever it came here, it came down, retested, followed. Whenever it came back up here, it tapped, and then here, tap. So you see, I'm just looking for regions of most activity. I feel like these areas are they're like magnets. They attract price. If we're in a downtrend, I'm looking for places where prices went when it was in the last downtrend. So looking left, I see that this right here would be a nice first take profit, and this would be a second one with a swing opportunity all the way down here. Now looking at the dailies, we see a lot of wicks in both directions showing indecisiveness. So like I said earlier, there is buyers, but there's also sellers. So let me just pop down to the 4-hourly and see what is the short-term trend. So this was obviously a uptrend right here. This little uptrend right here, which is great until we got to resistance, and then we started a downtrend. But I believe now we're actually creating. So this is a lower high, lower low. A higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and this higher high did not go as high as this one. So what that tells me is we might be seeing a trend reversal. And the keyword is might, because on the 1 hourly you can actually say this is a double top right here. resistance. Right? This is a double top. This is just price reacting to resistance. So short term, and let me draw horizontal ray. So short term, we're in this little consolidation region. Okay? On the 1 hourly, if you go out to the 4 hourly, you see the same thing. We're in this little consolidation box. So what that tells me is any move above here, we're going long to at least here. Any break below, we're going down to here, and to the next take profit, and to the final one, like discussed before. So that's how I break down my trades top-down analysis. I like to see what the overall trend is and look at the shorter time frames to see where the best entry is. So for example, based on my short analysis, right now would be a good entry because we failed to take out this high, and we're coming off a consolidation region where this area is considered a resistance. So right now would be a good time to short if you wanted to enter. If you're thinking about longs and you have that sentiment in your mind, I'd wait for a break above this box, this consolidation box, because we spent about 2.5 weeks in this consolidation box. So yeah, for longs, a break above here and we can go back and test resistance again. But that's what I see overall. I still see for swings trading opportunities a short, just based on previous experience at these levels. Looks like a short to me. So that's your Aussie. I'm sorry there's no live chat for you guys to recommend or ask questions, or even just to tell me to go back over something. But these live sessions will be processed and uploaded on YouTube in about 24 hours from now. I believe within 24 hours. So ideally, it should by end of the day around 10 p.m. Eastern, it should be up there, and you can watch that session. So yeah, don't feel discouraged if you miss something. Just try to get these key levels on your charts, because I'll be referring to them tomorrow and the days after. I'll do another poll tomorrow around 9 a.m. Eastern to see what pairs you want to analyze. I'm gauging based on the interest. They'll probably be the same pairs, especially since we'll have ECB results by then. So I know people will be eager to see what happened and why it did. So that's today's session. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and email them in at support@forexlens.com, and you can put RP Forex in the subject heading, just so I know it's for me and I can get back to you. And so that concludes our live session for today. I hope it was productive. I hope you guys learned something, and I will see you guys tomorrow around the same time, maybe 10 a.m. Let's see what the fundamentals are for tomorrow. The reason why today was at 11 a.m. because we had some fundamentals at 10. I recommend Forex Factory to keep track of these fundamentals. They're always up to date. I wouldn't really trust their forecast. They're hit or miss, but that's like with most websites. I just do not really trade news. So tomorrow we have the ECB, the trade balance for CAD, which is crucial, and nothing really much after that. So tomorrow's session should be at 10 a.m. So tune in then. I'll set a poll at 9 a.m. for you guys to vote for what pair you want to be analyzed. And that is all. Give us a follow on TradingView at Forex Lens. And thanks for joining, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Happy trading.